Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show, Style, and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course. And as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be recapping the latest episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, where Trisha has the nerve to shade Melody in a conversation back in Huntsville, nowhere near St. Thomas, in Melody's face. And this entire episode was dedicated to the hypocritical situation that is Trisha, Ken, and Marquez. And I am convinced that the emotional scene at the end was coming off scripted. And if I were a betting woman, I would bet that Trisha and Marquez are still legally married right now at this moment. Now, before we get into it all, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. Everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. So the episode, which by the way, is now being considered season 9 of Love and Marriage Huntsville, episode 3. And I'm definitely inclined to say that that's how they are treating it, because if you noticed in the opening theme, they've already removed Stormy and Courtney and replaced them with Ken and Trish. And Trish, she made the fashionable error of wearing that very blonde wig, a shade of blonde that you don't even see most white women having in their hair. And they aspired to that blonde haired, blue eyed look. So, but we've discussed this on a previous video. But in any event, Season 9, Episode 3, it opens up at the conclusion of the girls' trip in St. Thomas. They all had a dinner where they all wore white. Melody actually had a picture, a group picture of all of the ladies, and she asked them all to sign it. She also wrote a poem for them detailing their trip and, how they've come together. And she was able to weave in her name, Melody, a couple of times into the poem. And if you are a creative as well, you probably really enjoy writing poems, songs, journaling. So I thought that it was very nice and thoughtful. And she gave each lady a white rose. Very nice gestures for a very pleasant dinner. Destiny, however, did bring up the fact that when they were on the catamaran, Nell asked Sunny if she and Moses were thinking about having a baby. And then Destiny just kind of rehashed the triangle that is her, Sunny, and Moses again. So if I were to write a poem, it would go something like, roses are red, violets are blue. Destiny, move on. Moses is no longer with you. Okay, please. So they were going back and forth, Destiny and Sunny. And Sunny said, I don't feel like I betrayed you because we weren't friends. And Destiny was saying, as a woman, you all should admit that it would be hard to sit and listen to one of your friends ask your ex's wife about having a baby. And Nell did apologize. And Destiny said, well, you should have thought before you spoke. And Nell said, well, a lot of us don't think before we speak. And then Destiny admitted to that. And oh my gosh. So that was just a rehashing that I hope we don't have to revisit again until the reunion. And then they had their dinner, and that was that. So they all complimented Melody on how well she planned the trip. Destiny was sitting ugly faced, her disposition was giving attitude. And Melody asked her, you disagree about the trip going well? And she said, no. And Melody said, well, you're just sitting there. You didn't clap. You didn't say anything. And Destiny says, I don't have to do what everyone else does. And in her confessional, Destiny said, there's a lot of ass kissing around here. Destiny, it's giving you're feeling a little cranky because Stormy has left, Trisha has left, and the rest of the women, they're not in the mood to try and meddle, pick, or poke at Melody. They're in a positive mood, and they are confident enough to be truthful that it was a nice trip. And so you just wish that there was some strife at the dinner table, but there was not. Okay, so she had like a little funky attitude. And even still, when she and Sunny were going back and forth during this dinner, Destiny told Sunny, even your energy now is stank. And Melody chimed in on behalf of Destiny and she says, Sunny, I have to admit it is. You kind of gave her a bad facial expression and a little tood, a little attitude. And Melody did not have to do that considering she and Destiny are not friends. But she again is confident in herself enough to admit, that she felt like Sunny was giving Destiny attitude and she had no problem saying that. But, that's the benefits of being a mature woman. So then, meanwhile, back in Huntsville, you have Trisha and Ken. They met at, it almost was giving like a farmer's market with like an area where you could sit outside and eat because everything was like fresh vegetables and fruits, and then they had juices. So, anyway, Ken and Trish were talking, and Trisha was recapping Ken, downloading him on the girls' trip. And she hypocritically said that Shanita does not know about either situation to speak on them. And when she says either situation, she's talking about her, Ken, and Marquez, as well as Sunny, Moses, and Destiny. But Trisha, you know enough, you know the ins and outs of the Sunny, Moses, and Destiny situation to cast judgment on Sunny. But when Shanita calls out the similarities in your situation, you're saying that Shanita doesn't know anything about it. And when Ken asks, well, who is Shanita? She goes, Melody's puppet. So here comes Trisha's true colors. I have said this before, but Trisha was definitely brought on this show to antagonize Melody. This really shows how badly she wants to be around Martell, wants to be on his roster, in my opinion, because how hard she is coming at Melody. So now Melody's friend is Melody's puppet, and she's going to say something else disrespectful. So Ken says that, lots of people who are separated start new relationships without ending one. But in my opinion, that's not good practice, Ken. The reason why it's not good practice to start a new romantic relationship while you're still involved with someone else, married to someone else, is because it could really lead people on. I mean, what if it turns out she does actually get divorced one day and you say, okay, Trish, let's go down to City Hall, or let's call the church and book a date, or let's call this facility and book a date. Let's do the destination wedding. And Trisha starts giving you excuses. She starts talking where she hardly moves her mouth again. Then it's going to give, she's been leading you on these past few years. And also, at the end of the day, it's just trifling to date someone who is married. And I'm not even going to reserve smoke for just side chicks. I think it's trifling for side dudes to date married women. And you know that there are kids involved. That's just irresponsible, not a good look. And you try to cover being the side dude by financially helping Trisha out with the needs and expenses of her children. It still does not get rid of the fact that she is a married woman. But during that conversation, when Ken says that lots of people, start new relationships before ending them, Trish has the nerve to say that Melody did it. Melody dated before being divorced. Excuse me, Trisha. Again, you just said that Shanita didn't know enough about any one situation to speak on it. How do you know that? How do you know that Melody started a new relationship while married? Did you hear that from Martell? Did you agree with Martell? You two had a deal that you would say that in this scene? That's really lowbrow and really desperate. It gives Trisha that you are desperate to be in Martell's good graces. Or is he holding something against you? Is he holding something against you and you don't want it to come out? You don't want Ken to be hurt and go ballistic? if he found out that allegedly you and Martell, were knocking boots. You don't want that to come out, so you shaded Melody. Melody has caught a stray because Martell has something on you. Because we're gonna get back to what the two of you have been saying, and you and Martell have not totally gotten your story straight, because the husbands and the wives, they're going to exchange notes, and you two are gonna really, really look like you've been doing something. But you shading Melody is giving that you've gotten some of that short man, and I think your feelings are involved. Carrie from Sex and the City said that when a woman does it to a man, her body gives off a chemical that makes her emotionally attached. But back to these two clowns. So in his confessional, Ken said he's all about protecting the image of his lady. Well, Ken, if Trisha wasn't still married while dating you, living with you, having you around her children, then there would not be an image problem. When people like Olivia Pope, crisis managers, when they get involved, it's because a problem has happened. So you're trying to be the male Olivia Pope, Oliver Pope, and trying to help her with her image problem. That would only insinuate that something bad has happened. And it's the fact that she is still married. You all let me know, what did you think about this conversation? So Kimmi and Maurice, they recap the girls' trip. Okay, this episode, there wasn't much scenery. I guess because the girls' trip ended, those were like the best visuals I think we're gonna get all season long. But this was all about recapping Ken and Trisha and Martell. So Kimmi and Maurice, they discuss the girls' trip, and then they get to Trisha. And before they get to Trisha, Kimmi was talking about Nell being super extra, getting involved in her conversation with Tisha and Melody, and they had actually squashed everything. And then Nell just escalated it. And then they talked about Trisha. Maurice expressed how Martell said Trisha was not bad enough for him, so he didn't F. Okay, he did not F her. Kimmi and Maurice admitted that it looks bad that Trisha and Martell lied about how much time they've spent together and where they spent it, which is Martell's house. As far as Trisha still being married, Kimmi tried to make an excuse while low-key describing her own husband, Maurice, in my opinion. Kimmi said that maybe Trisha is taking her time with getting divorced and marrying Ken because her first marriage did not work out. And then Kimmi says, when you get married once, you're slow the second time. And in my opinion, that is Kimmi describing how long she and Maurice dated before getting married. And also, Kimmi's statement gives way to the rumor that she was a side chick. In my opinion, Kimmi, you should not have even have tried to make excuses for Trisha. It's totally ringing bells that, you were the alleged side chick. And so you know that Ken is the side dude, and you're trying to cover and make excuses for them. And it also gives, like, if Trisha knows something, or next season, if there's another season of LAMH and Trisha and Ken are involved, you don't want to be on camera shading her, and then Trisha brings it back up about the rumor of you being a side chick. It's just giving your like CYA. You're like covering your behind. Now, Maurice, he had a lot more to say. He said what I've been thinking for the past few months, that Ken loves Trisha more than Trisha loves Ken. And Kimmi said, we cannot speculate about that out loud because we don't know. Girl, it's okay though, but we all know what it is. So then Tisha and Marsau, they recap the trip, and Tisha shades Shanita. She calls Shanita the bodyguard and said she was tall like a man. And Marsau actually said, don't do Shanita like that. And I think that Marsau was remembering Shanita being married to her ex-husband, who's a football player. So I think he just did not want to shade her. Sometimes we'll see this. There was a story like last year or the year before last where this Caucasian woman was like a Karen to this football player. She was riding her bike at night and he drove his car to his mailbox. You know how in some subdivisions, the mailboxes will be a little ways from the homes. So I can't think of this football player's name, but he drove to the mailboxes. The white woman she felt like he almost hit her. They're going back and forth. And she goes, and it's dark outside, and you are a black man arguing with a white woman. And he's like, what? So then she calls her husband. The husband was chill because he recognized the football player, but the wife did not. So this came to my mind when Marsau, he was not trying to shade Shanita. And I was just like, I think the football fan in him did not want to go in on her because he was thinking about, who she was married to. But anyway, Marsau decided to shade Melody and not Shanita when he talked about her friendships. And in their confessional, Letitia said even family members aren't safe. What did she mean by that? I've never heard of any sort of falling out between Melody and a family member, and definitely not any of the cast knowing about that. But anyway, back to their conversation about the girls' trip. So they ended up discussing Trisha and Martell. And Letitia was saying how Trisha kind of got her ass handed to her because she got caught up lying, saying that, she had never really interacted with Martell. Then it turns out she'd been over to his home. And Marsau said, yeah, Martell was telling us that, he slid into her DMs, they linked up, but, she didn't look good enough for him and they just watched a movie. And Tisha's like, I didn't hear nothing about a movie. Trisha made it sound like it was strictly training, fitness training. She didn't say nothing about them watching a movie. And Marsau pointed out that what trainer goes to someone's house to train and there is no gym? He even asked Tisha, when Trisha has trained you, where were you all working out? She was like, at the gym. But maybe she's just not into me like that, making a joke about Trisha and Martell. Then Marsau says something that's a little interesting. He says that someone needs to teach them how to lie. That is not your average statement. Nobody really says that when you're like hearing about some situation about people. You don't say, girl, somebody need to teach them how to lie. No, I've never said that. And I don't think the average person goes around saying that, especially coming from a married person, Marsau. Ooh, I would not have said that. But then Tisha and Marsau, they talk about Destiny and Martell. And for me, this scene, it was a definitive point. It really shows how I think Marsau, he is getting over Martell. He is like over the BS and Martell orchestrating the gang up against Melody and trying to hold things over people and being the puppet master. He's over it. So Marsau brings up the fact that Martell makes inappropriate comments about Law, Destiny's son, saying that Law looks like Martell. And Marsau spoke on Martell repeating things to try and plant seeds in people's minds. So I thought that was very interesting. So Tisha was the one who kind of changed the conversation from Trisha and Martell to Destiny and Martell. And Marsau was actually putting himself in Melody's shoes. He said, well, I can kind of see why she would wonder if Destiny and Martell have done something, because again, he makes the comments about Destiny's son, and then he has a tendency to say things repeatedly to plant seeds in people's minds. Now, Tisha kind of made light of Martell's strategy, and she brought it back around to Melody. In fact, she said that, Destiny accused Melody of trying to teach Ariane how to respectfully cheat. Marceau again puts himself in Melody's shoes and says he does not think that that happened. He was trying to say what married woman would go there, and Tisha was kind of interjecting. And then they cut away to Tisha's confessional where she says, Melody would not share her man. We all know what happened in that situation. She said, but Martell would definitely love to sling his little thing all over Metro Huntsville. And I am paraphrasing, okay? So let's get to this last scene. So we have Marquez, Trisha, and Ken. They meet at a restaurant and they rehash the beginnings of their triangle, which according to Marquez is Ken leaving emojis and I guess and commenting on Trisha's post. And Ken said, in the beginning, they would only converse about fitness topics. Marquez admitted to feeling disturbed by seeing Ken play basketball with his son. Ken said that Marquez has been absent from his kids' lives. And Ken said that love is an action word. Now, while I definitely do not agree with Ken being a side dude, I do feel like he is correct in pointing out that Marquez has been absent according to what they say. This is my commentary on what is being presented to me. And I do agree with Ken that love is an action word. And Marquez brought the divorce papers and said that they need to be signed and notarized. But during this scene, Trisha asked an employee of the restaurant, the waiter, for a pen, and she signs the divorce papers. So then I pose the question, does the notary need to witness a signature? And according to Google, yes, they do. So this information is from PandaDoc Notary, and it says, my question was, can documents be signed before they are notarized? And the AI overview on Google says no, documents should not be signed before they are notarized. A notary public's role is to act as a neutral witness to the signing of a document. If a document has already been signed, the notary will usually require the signer to re-sign in their presence. So she would have to re-sign in the notary's presence. So I was just like, oh my gosh, is this scripted? Is this fake? So at the reunion, I hope that Carlos formally asked Trisha and Marquez, are you two formally divorced? I have a feeling that they are still legally married, but whatever. Trisha even stated in her confessional that she was shocked that Marquez brought divorce papers and that he still has feelings for her. Now, definitely in front of Ken, she was acting like she was totally over him, almost like she cannot stand him. But I just thought that was interesting. Why would you be shocked that he would bring divorce papers when you two are separated, you are in a new relationship, you live with the new guy in your life, and he financially supports you and your kids? Why would you be surprised that Marquez brought divorce papers? Unless you two have other conversations that Ken is unaware of, or why would you be surprised by that? I just thought that was kind of odd. And I feel like Trisha should just admit it that she likes hanging on. She likes hanging on to the marriage with Marquez. I'm not sure why, because again, she comes off like she cannot stand the guy, but it's so weird. And Marquez is definitely emotional, but Trisha and Ken, they seem to not care. Even on Ken's social media, so he shared the clip that's on the Love and Marriage Huntsville Instagram page on his Instagram. And he says, listen, there isn't a woman on this planet that will get with another man and not expect the same care as they would with the biological father. Too many times I see women acting as if this is something brand new. when the bulk of you have been through this very thing yourself, whether it be with your kids or as a kid yourself. In no way have I or Trish ever tried to limit or excuse this man of his responsibilities. He does that himself. There's always two sides to a story, sometimes three. And the fact is, this guy just hasn't grown up and thought that Trish would be a miserable single mom the rest of her life. Not okay. So, Ken, the tone of your caption is giving that you're actually immature and you still need to grow up, because if you seriously want to be married to Trisha, the total package isn't just her kids, it's their biological dad. So why even make this shady caption to this post if you're trying to have a healthy, respectful relationship? In this episode, you said to Trisha, I think we need to meet with Marquez because I'm all about respect. And you told Marquez, I'm the man of the house. So it's okay for you to disrespect your girlfriend's husband, but he is supposed to just respect you. He just comes off like him and Trish just comes off like some buttholes, you know. But he was right about love being an action word, but overall he just shades this guy left and right. And then, not all women can relate to this situation. Ken, I've never been a side chick. I do not date married people. And I actually grew up in a two-parent household, and my parents were married, way before they had me. I'm the baby, I'm a late baby, but I grew up in a two-parent household. So actually, I cannot relate to this, bruh. But, thank you for thinking so highly of women and thinking so highly of Black women. So then Ken posts on his IG stories, it's so hard to deal with overly emotional men. On another note, them arms nice. Talking about his own body and a laughing emoji. Now, this post is interesting to me because, we talk about toxic masculinity. And in my opinion, toxic masculinity includes having several women and being intimate, unprotected with several women, having several children by different people, and a man not being honest about his emotions, about his feelings, and thinking that he has to be so hard and macho all the time. So when you see another man, another Black man, publicly show his emotions and then you make fun of him, again, that's disrespectful, but you want to be so respectful. And I think that Ken sometimes hopes that he is physically intimidating with his body. And I just don't like this, almost like he's embracing the toxic masculinity. Mr. Dating, a couple of married women. So not cute, so not handsome at all. Well, what do you all think about this? I'm just really curious with the casting of Trisha and Ken, because definitely, clearly, it was meant to try and bother Melody, which I think she handled it well on the girls' trip when they brought up Trisha and Martell, because who ended up leaving early? Trisha. She left the trip. And she didn't shade Melody to her face. She did it in the scene with her and Ken back in Huntsville. But she was definitely brought on to try and rattle Melody's feathers somehow. And I'm just curious, like, was this Martell's idea? Someone had to have known about the connection to Martell for them to think, oh, and this will be brought up in front of Melody. Let's book them. So I'm just wondering, are they all in on it? Or was she just so desperate to be in Martell's presence that she was willing to come on here and try and make Melody uncomfortable? And Ken, if I were you, I would not come back to Love and Marriage Huntsville, because I don't see your relationship lasting while you're on here with Martell, because your girl comes off like she likes him. But what did you all think of this episode? I know that some of you are blacking out, so I definitely wanted to recap the episode and, give you some visuals so that you can see what it is. I thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button as it is a free way of supporting the channel. And please subscribe to Shows, Style, and Spirit if you have not already done so. I hope that you are enjoying your Sunday, enjoying your weekend. I am. After I made some content last night, I went and saw The Rock, his new movie, Red One. It's a really feel-good film, for the holiday season. I thought it was good and it had lots of action. It had lots of action. I can tell that that was a big budget film because the computer graphics, the CGs, they were definitely nice. Definitely a good film. So, and if you have kids in your family, or if you're just like me and you enjoy going to the movies, it's like one of your favorite pastimes, definitely check it out. I think you will enjoy it a lot. And it has like not just The Rock, but if you are into the Marvel Universe, the Avengers, it has Chris Evans, who normally plays Captain America. He is in it as well. And Lucy Liu from Charlie's Angels, looking beautiful. Okay. So definitely check it out. And I will talk with you all soon. Bye.